Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Wes, did you really want to kick it off?
Absolutely. So first of all, I want to say thanks to everybody for attending today's webinar, 8 Ways to Generate More Sales Leads for Your Hungry Sales Organization. And today, you're going to learn a lot of valuable tips in different areas for lead generation. We'll learn to drive targeted traffic to your websites, and also something that's near and dear to my heart, how you can leverage key social media sites and activities. Also how you can produce compelling web content to showcase your expertise, and a whole bunch of other things. As most of us are aware, Customer 2.0 is everywhere, and the webinar that you're attending today is going to help you develop a sales funnel built to sell them, more effectively than ever before. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll post it on YouTube, and that's going to allow you to revisit some of the lessons that are presented here today, as well as be able to share that with people you think would find it interesting. For questions, you'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen that there is a questions box. We would ask that all attendees, you're going to be muted during the presentation, so to be able to ask any questions, if you could use the question panel to be able to input your questions, and we'll get them to them at the end of the presentation. Angela Onstein from Print Audit is on the call today, and she'll be managing the question period. The first thing I'd like to do is just take a second and introduce you to your host this morning for the webinar. The MPS community is a very small place, and Aaron Dick, Matthew McGuire, and myself actually all used to work together at one time in the not-so-distant past. Aaron Dick is the Senior Director of Solutions at Digitech Computer Products. He's a very well-known industry expert, and he's got a strong history in managed print dating back over a decade. Matthew McGuire is the Director of Solution Sales at Digitech. He also has a strong pedigree in the MPS space. He's an industry expert that has a contagious level of enthusiasm for solution selling. Just as a bit of trivia, he's also an identical twin like myself, and believe it or not, our brothers actually share the same name. And no, I'm not making that up. Without further ado, I'd like to hand things off to Aaron and Matt. I'm sure you'll enjoy the webinar, and thanks again for making time to attend.
Hey, thanks a lot, Wes. We're really excited to be here today, and really today is just about a discussion to share some best practices and what we see happening in the industry and in business in general. And yeah, it is kind of ironic that 10 years later, the three of us are on a call talking about sales leads and how to help customers grow, and really that's been the theme over the last 10 years for all three of us. And the other interesting tidbit you'll get is that we're all Canadian. So you'll notice the abouts and A's and process and Chesterfield and any other Canadian terms I can throw at you throughout the presentation.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Matthew McGuire. I really don't think that you're going to have too much difficulty deciphering which one of us is speaking at the time, giving Aaron's baritone huge voice. But again, we're three of us are Canadian. I thought it was pretty neat. You are going to hear some funny words, but like Wes said, I think the three of us on this call today are extremely passionate about this industry, about what we do, about the new best ideas that companies and people, and we're all trying to bring to the forefront to help us all live better and work better in this industry. And I'm really excited, and I want to thank everyone for their time today.
So this is actually the second webinar we've done with Print Audit, and hopefully the second of many that we're going to do. The first webinar we did, and it's called, it was actually on July 21st, called The Next Generation of Managed Print. So Wes was gracious enough to put a presentation together to talk just sort of how managed print has evolved and is evolving, and what other solutions and services that we can wrap around that, from user management to mobility to workflow. And so these are the types of concepts that you're going to continue to see from Print Audit and from Digitech moving forward, and I want to thank Wes for doing this. Interesting tip about this webinar is actually we had over 200 attendees on this webinar, so definitely a hot topic in the industry. We're very pumped, excited to be part of the Top 100 Summit coming up very soon. This event brings industry leaders, businesses together to share ideas, develop strategies for the future, and Digitech is a proud sponsor. And just like my kids at Christmas time, I'm sitting here with 10 more sleeps to go, Wes, so we're pretty excited to be part of it.
We are too.
I guess first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to be on the call. I mean, there's a lot of choice, there's a lot of information out in the marketplace, and you guys chose to join us today, and we want to do our best to make sure that we share real world strategies that you guys can go out and implement right away in your business. So thank you very much for joining the call. Just a quick introduction of Digitech if you're not familiar. Digitech is a distribution company. We're based about 10 minutes from the Dulles Airport in Virginia. We make money based on the distribution of our products. We are a tier 1 supplier of HP, Lexmark, and Xerox, and we recognize that we need to bring more to our customers than just a good quality product at a good price. And so I've joined the company to build out what we call our Partner Pro Solutions platform, and really we're going to share a little bit of that with you today, but understanding that our sole goal is to help our customers grow, and in Partner Pro we want to bring the best of breed of thoughts and technologies and partnerships together. And on the right hand side of the screen you see a company called Into Communications. Into Communications is the marketing company that we've partnered with to help us bring a marketing platform, inbound marketing and solutions together for our customers.
Yeah, and just to jump in here, hi everyone, this is Matthew. I'll say that for the first couple times so we can distinguish the two voices here again. I think when I think about a company like Into Communications and the Partner Pro program that we've built here at Digitech, what we're trying to do is a lot like what you and your customers and your businesses are trying to do out there too, and it's like a keyword of proximity. What we're trying to do is get closer to the best people, the best companies, the best partners, the best ideas in the marketplace regarding business and selling our companies and connecting with our environment. And what we saw when we were doing our due diligence of who we'd like to work with in this Partner Pro program and what Into Communications brought was that it brought Digitech closer to these best companies and best ideas. This is a very, very founded company, a very successful company in leveraging online technology and social media, et cetera. A lot of the points that we're going to go over on today's call about how different companies are running through the marketplace.
Yeah, and just some fast facts as it relates to Into Communications and Sell to Win, because I think it's important to know that we have the horses in the stable to support your business. We've through our partnership with Into Communications and Sell to Win, through website generation, over 5,500 blogs produced, over 18,000 sales reps trained. The interesting statistic about Into Communications and our partnership is these guys are the #1 Xerox global sales trainer. So they have a ton of industry experience, but they also work with pharmaceutical companies like Roche Pharmaceutical or Pfizer. They work in manufacturing, aerospace. So the good news is we're able to bring some of those best practices from the vertical markets that you guys are selling to forward and hopefully sharing this content and these ideas to help you grow your business. Yeah, and just to jump in here really quickly, again, one of the things that this does for me, that last slide, Aaron, is when I think about why we partnered with this company and what it would mean to, let's say, some of the companies on today's call is a lot of those facts jump out, but what it really means is bandwidth, it means scalability, it means that through Digitech and Partner Pro and through companies like Into Communications, we're able to present that customizable work specific to your business. These guys have a great deal of experience in bandwidth working with many companies in many different perspectives at one time to create customized content individually specific to each business. It's not a cut and paste generic type approach to social and online technology. So I think it's time to get started, and I think we need to kind of set the stage for the conversation today, and we need to understand how the sales funnel has really changed. So Matt, what are your thoughts around the sales funnel as it relates to today's marketplace? Yeah, I think it's important to understand that we as our organization think sales funnel, but I think it's important to really look at it as a buying process now. With technology and information more accessible, like some of the graphics that you see in there on the screen, it's not so much a sales funnel anymore, whether it's a very, what would you say, Aaron, a linear aspect with one way in and then one way out. It's really a buying process now, and the engagement system with technology and understanding is, I find that customers and clients can come in at different stages of the sales cycle. They can come in at a different informed piece of information about what they're looking for and who they want to partner with. So as we look at our businesses and how we want to engage them and how we want to prepare to deal with them once our businesses are engaged with them, creating that, let's say, old school thinking of top of funnel lead generation, our businesses need to be better prepared and better set up to understand the buying process of this customer, what they look like, what they think like, and how they're searching to engage businesses like ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying, but the buying cycle begins well before the actual sales process starts. We'll review that a little bit like as we get through the presentation and talk about that. But with the access to information today, people are coming in and out of the funnel more knowledgeable than ever. And so, regardless of what we go through today from a content perspective, our goal is to show you how you can generate more leads and fill this funnel, no matter what stage it's at for your business.
Yeah, so if you're filling the funnel, what are you filling it with, right? When I think about, again, when you look at that slide, the first time I saw that slide myself, it just jumped out of a lead machine. Is your website a lead machine? How is your website generating sales leads for your sales organization? We all have sales systems, and we train and market and train our teams and our technicians and our sales force accordingly, but what are we doing to generate leads, right? Is your website a proper brand ambassador for your business? Is it a 24/7 CEO I heard once? Representing your business and the type of company and the type of content that you want to deliver out there. So a hard thing for what I've seen, Aaron, anyways, is in organizations, it's hard to measure the ROI on your marketing spend or on your website, or how much money you're putting into it, or where's the good number or the bad number.
Well, yeah, and I mean, when you think about how to generate leads on your website, one of the things you need to understand that I think is a best practice is that your website is really the hub that connects all your social media activities. So as we go through the presentation and we talk about videos or blogging or vertical markets, your website is really the central hub to everything. We want to link everything back to the site. So in a way, we need to consider the architect and the layout of the site in order to really maximize the opportunity from a lead generation perspective, and then to your point, Matt, really show off the ROI.
Yeah, it's very much looked at in today's I'd say buying process from the customer's perspective as a large engagement protocol for your business, right? So understanding what we're going to try and accomplish here today and what we'd like to share with you, working with companies like Into Communications and looking at, let's say, some of our top customers or some of their top customers and what they're doing to create these leads is we're going to introduce yourself to the audience. Again, as we try and prepare this, your website to be this great lead generator, we got to understand the buyer. So we're going to meet buyer 2.0. Once we understand the buyer and what their buying process looks like and how they're accessing the information and partners and technology, we're going to look at the best practices within your website, within let's say that technological brand ambassador for your business, of how to get better at it, the hows and whys of how to improve your website to be a better lead generator for your business.
So I guess in order to understand that, we need to look at the shift in control. And this slide is probably, well, Matt and I agree, probably the most popular slide that we have, and I think really illustrates sort of the transition that's happening in the world today from a seller to a buyer. And I was kind of trying to think about what's a good way to really showcase this slide to the group. And so I'm sure all of you guys have gone through this process before, but I recently bought a new car. And my car buying experience, I think, speaks to this slide. And so let me just tell you a story. So I'm a father of three. My oldest is 7 years old, but interestingly enough, he's 5 feet tall. So I'm probably staring down a second refrigerator in my future. But I needed to buy a car that was big enough to haul my family around. And I was looking online, and I was talking to friends, and wanted to try and, like anyone, get the most car for the least amount of money or the best bang for your buck. And so the first thing that I started to do is I started to read some blogs. And I was looking specifically at a Hyundai Genesis. I thought the car was big enough to kind of fit the feature functionality that I was looking for, and it could fit my 5 foot tall 7-year-old in the back seat. So I started reading blogs about it, what people were saying, resale value, that type of thing. I joined some chat rooms. There was some chatter back and forth about don't buy it because it's going to have bad resale value because of the brand. And some people thwarted that, and they said, no, it's going to have great resale value. So I went down that. And then I looked at YouTube videos like anyone, like Car and Driver magazine, and, I got the walk around and the inside and the out and the ups and downs about it. And then I joined a couple Twitter feeds. I was on LinkedIn. I was just spending my time researching, I guess, to make sure that was the type of car that I wanted to buy, and what other cars in that class I needed to compare it against, and that type of thing. And we're going to talk about SEO value and Google search, and so like any one of you guys, I went to Google and I just typed in Hyundai Genesis or whatever my search was, family car, and 2 dealerships popped up in my neighborhood or my town, and And I looked at those dealerships. So like you guys, I just went to the top two, right? I mean, I kind of skipped the pay for ads, and I just went to the ones that come up organically, and I clicked on those. And Hyundai had some interesting kind of manufacturer videos on there that were okay, and then some of the dealerships had, you know, ebooks and white papers that were more specific to the local marketplace and some of the products that they had. So I read through all that stuff, and I looked at the blue book, or whatever the black book it's called, and I identified sort of the price range that I was comfortable in paying. So you know, good story, Aaron, right? Well, at the end of all this stuff, and you think back to the funnel piece, I engaged the sales rep, you know, really closer to the bottom of the funnel, because I was already educated in understanding, you know, what color I wanted, what feature functionality I wanted, how much I wanted to pay. And so the sales rep that I called, well, I called the sales rep at both dealerships because I was already committed to buying that product. And then I decided to go in and well, I didn't actually. I bought it over the phone, and I decided to go in and sign the check and take over the keys. So I actually didn't have to go through any process with the sales rep driving me around and giving me the tour of the car. I think that's a good way to kind of outline that slide. What do you think, Matt?
I would agree with you know, that story kind of puts it in perspective, and really what that slide comes down to for me, and what your story does, Aaron, is information is power. Right? Information was always going to determine the selling cycle and the buying process for the customer. And when you look at where this shift has happened and why this shift has happened and why our businesses need to adapt to be better prepared to engage the client in his buying processes, they used to have to rely on us for the information regarding the product or the services, right? And that was the brochure or the demo or the sales rep or the door-to-door guy. Well, now that information is out there, and they're constantly looking for it on their own terms and in their own time cycle, where those types of buying experiences are becoming more and more relevant, right? So the seller or the buyer now is in more of a control, and the buyer is determining some of this process, and the buyer is looking for information, right? Which is the sales cycle, which kind of leads us into the next slide of what we're kind of seeing the trending towards. So as our businesses are preparing to engage the customer and preparing to put ourselves to the forefront, we've got to try and understand that buyer a little bit. And, you know, all of the stats and facts that are out there, and I'm sure there are dozens of them, lead to that people are doing just what Aaron did. They're performing online searches. They're well engaged about the product or information and product and services before engaging a sales rep that represents your business about said product. And if that's the case, and if this seems to be the, let's call it the trend of his thought process or his purchasing process, you know, let's take a closer look at what this customer looks like. And that should lead us into how our business is set up to engage that customer.
Well, yeah, and the only thing I would add to that, and I was talking to West yesterday or a couple of days ago just about the presentation, and Wes made a good point that, you know, I had already committed to buying a product, right? Then it was, who am I going to buy the product from? And so I don't want to I guess, say that the sales rep's position isn't important in this, because when I did finally engage the sales rep, it was about all the value services that they wrapped around the vehicle that determined which dealership I was going to buy the car from. So I think it's important to marry the two together. He understood who I was, what I was looking for, and what services were important to me, and that's the dealership that I chose. And so I guess that really, you know, kind of leads us into who are the people that we're selling to today and Buyer 2.0. And you know, I was fortunate enough to attend the last two BTA events, one in Minneapolis and one in Las Vegas. And the one in Minneapolis, the keynote was Rick Taylor. So for any of you folks on the phone that attended that event, you'll understand what I'm saying. And he talked about the future of Konica Minolta. And one of the statistics that he threw out was that by 2020, 70% of the workforce is going to be a millennial. And I thought that was interesting, right? And we always hear that term millennial. And then, you know, and the gal on the screen looks like a millennial. And so I go to the Las Vegas BTA event a few months later, and they have a panel. And there's 5 or 6 folks up there, and it's a panel of millennials. And the questions are all about how to engage millennials. And I think that that speaks to Buyer 2.0, someone who's online, who's knowledgeable, who's demanding. But I guess, Matt, my question to you is it just the millennial that's Buyer 2.0?
Oh, I love this conversation. Again, I would fit into, let's call it the Gen X. So if we have millennials and Gen X's and baby boomers that are making up the majority of, let's say, people in purchasing type positions, I don't believe it is just millennials. Yeah, just yesterday, Aaron, you, West, and I were having this conversation. I believe that everybody is a Buyer 2.0 right now. even the baby boomer type CEO or the baby boomer upper management that's making those executive decisions, he also, let's call it, thinks like a millennial and is time constrained like a millennial. But what it really is, it's an access to technology. The most efficient, fastest, best way for your customers to consume information is not really, it's really using and leveraging technology. The best example would be my father. He's a 67-year-old RCMP police officer, which is the equivalent of I'd say the US FBI. And when he was given a smartphone for the very first time, even though that smartphone could do anything, and just like you've seen all the Apple commercials, there was more computing power in his phone than that took the first spaceship to the moon. He didn't have any contacts. He didn't use any apps. He literally just remembered everybody's phone number, and he would type it in with his finger on the touchpad. Right? You flash forward to my 67-year-old father today, and he uses a smartphone just as good as the average 12-year-old kid. He knows all about, like, using Siri voices and everything. People are accessing technology like millennials. Yes, Wes, you had some pretty neat comments yesterday when we were talking about this.
Yeah, no, certainly. I think that Buyer 2.0 certainly has become everyone simply because of the ease of access to technology. I think we all live to some extent in a digital world, and certainly in my own role at Print Audit, I spend each and every day online using different tools, be it social media, through blogging, LinkedIn, doing research on the web, et cetera. And I'm 45 years old. And strong point, being that Buyer 2.0, unlike 10 or 15 years ago, is not looking to learn about MPS. They'll have done all that work already. They'll have researched, different content on the web. They'll have read different articles. They'll have looked up different profiles on LinkedIn. They'll have done all that work already. And as Aaron mentioned earlier, what they're really looking for is which MPS provider, is heads and shoulders above the rest. Which ones are doing things differently? Which ones are, more progressive? Which ones are actually, keeping up with the times? And they'll have done all that work, typically before they pick up the phone and get in touch with us. And that's not just a millennial. Certainly millennials, started the trend, but they've educated the rest of us simply by the vast numbers of them that are entering the workforce. We've had to get to know who they are because they are becoming a strong buying segment. So, yeah, certainly 67-year-old dad, myself at 45, Aaron at the ripe old age of 25.
That's right. I think I'm a millennial, but I'm not.
It's all around us, and I think the key thing is really to remember that Buyer 2.0 is millennial inspired, but they're certainly not just millennials anymore.
Well, yeah, and I think at the end of the day, guys, how we look at it is like the red box that you see on the screen, right? This is how your customer prefers to buy. I mean, so brass tacks is, this is what they're doing when you're not in the office, or when you're in the office, or when you're in front of them. So I think that leads nicely, Matt, into our next slide on website lead generation assessment, and how we can really help our customers understand the audience and benchmark against sort of the competition that they're facing in the marketplace.
Absolutely. This is, we're about to get into kind of the meat and potatoes that we want to share with you guys today, which are, know your audience. Once we know our audience, once we know what and how they're thinking and what they're looking for, we can try and better prepare our businesses to engage them, to be accessible to them, and then to stand out amongst our peers as better than, or a preferred choice for a partner for them to bring into their businesses, right? So once we know our audience, how can we take our website and make it a lead generation tool for our business, as opposed to, typically or with less stronger sales companies, what they're doing? So what are the best practices to take this audience and engage with him?
So, guys, I'm a big fan of having meetings and attending webinars and conferences where I actually have some takeaways and things I can go back and implement in my business. And so we feel that these are really the 8 top lead generation drivers for your business. And Wes made a good point yesterday. You can look at number 2, number 3, and number 5 on the list, and that all really drives number 1, right? Your Google ranking and getting people to your site. And it's number 6 and number 7 that we focus on, that is really that conversion, and how, like, cool idea, Aaron, I can get a bunch of people to my website, but how do I convert them and turn them into a lead and actually measure this thing and make it effective for my business? So my goal today, Matt's goal today, is to make sure that you guys understand these 8 things. we clearly articulate them to you, and you can kind of figure out how you can go back and implement your business and or engage a company like Digitech and Partner Pro to help you with that. And so one of the things that Matt and I have done in the past with a number of companies in the industry and OEMs is we put on workshops. And so we've gone in and done some on-site workshops with some folks just on selling and prospecting and different, whatever the topic is. And the first thing that we do is a self-assessment. I think it's important to do some benchmarking, understanding where you're at. And so if you want, as an idea with this, with the rest of this presentation, is grab a piece of paper, write down 1 to 8 down the left side of the page, and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being needs improvement, 5 being we're awesome at it, and see where your businesses stack up on the 8 lead generation drivers as we go through the presentation.
Yeah, quickly, Aaron, we can jump to the next slide. But I think, again, me personally, coming from a sales and marketing background, and that's really what I'm concerned with, is how does this mean to my business? Why is it important, and how can I do it, right? So when I look at Google Rank, if this is up here, how does your website appear on the first page for managed print services in your area? And then the next stat that you see there, which is 90% of people don't go past that first page on Google search. What is a Google Rank? A Google Rank, essentially, guys, is just being on the first page of whatever search your customer typed in there. So in this one, we see managed print services in your area. It's how to come up on the first page. So as a sales guy, I just ask, how do I become on the first page? So Aaron, how do I get on the first page of Google Rank?
Well, I mean, so at the end of the day, it all comes down to relevant content. So what's relevant content? It's information specifically on what your customers are looking for that shapes their buying decision. Think back to my car example, right? All the different things I was looking for. There has to be relevant content that speaks to a 37-year-old dad of 3 that's trying to buy a car, or in this space, I'm trying to source out a managed print services provider, a managed IT provider, a hardware provider with some document workflow solutions, and I want to make sure that the content speaks to what I'm looking for.
Okay, so Google is taking relevant content, or what they term relevant content, and then they're creating a leaderboard from that, so whoever has the best, most, best of, and they're going to rank them, and that's what's going to help you get on the first page. Right? Okay,
exactly.
So if I'm a business, how do I create relevant content? Where does the content come from? What are the vehicles that I use to put out there and to create this relevant content?
So it's a good question, and so there's a bunch of ways that we can create relevant content and distribute it. And one of the things that is a massive opportunity is social media. And does your website include ongoing activities with customer-centric content on multiple B2B channels? And so as you guys look at this slide, you may recognize some of those social media icons like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you may not recognize some of the other ones. But there's a lot of opportunity out there to distribute your message on your solutions and your products out to the right audience. So now we have an opportunity to focus our messaging to the right people that we're trying to sell to. And when I was learning about social media and I was trying to figure out, what all this means, organic search and content, I was sitting down with our marketing company, and this is how the guy explained it to me, and I think it resonated really well with me, so I'll share the story with you guys. Is social media is kind of like a cocktail party. We all go to those conferences and those cocktail parties, and first thing you do is you go to the bar, you grab your cocktail, you turn around, you try and figure out, okay, which conversation am I going to jump into? And let's say the thing is only a couple hours long. Chances are you can probably only have 1, 2, or maybe 3 conversations at the cocktail party, 2 of which you're super pumped to have, and maybe 1 you're just playfully nodding your head and you're not really excited to be in that conversation. Well, a cocktail party from a social media perspective is now picture hovering above the cocktail party, where you get access to every single conversation that's happening at that event. You get to decide where you want to plug yourself into, what conversations you want to participate with, where you want to add your ideas and your thoughts to, and where you don't, and where there's value for you to participate and where there isn't. And so if you use the cocktail party analogy, social media allows you to do that. You can tailor your messaging and send it out to a focus group specific to the products and the services and the solutions that you're trying to provide.
Yeah, and I think, again, sticking my sales hat on, why do I care about that? Because it drives brand awareness for your business. And brand awareness drives site traffic back to your website, right? You're going to hear a few things, which is know your audience and drive them back to your website, right? You got to create that content. So, creating that brand awareness is that feeling and those engagement ideas about why to jump with you. So when you think about the conversations, Aaron, and hovering over the cocktail party, how do you anchor the conversation? How do you create these conversations that people want to hear?
Well, one of the ways we can do it is through blogging. And I think arguably, and Wes, I know you have some opinions on this as well, I think blogging is probably the most effective way for you to get your message out to your audience. And to me, blogging is about controlling the conversation with your customers. We'll talk a little bit about that, but think about the most common questions your customers ask. Why isn't that on the website for them to consume on their own time? And so if we control that conversation with our customers, we listen to our customers, we listen to our technicians, and we create a conversation or a blog on the 3 to 5 questions that they may have. And that's a vehicle that we can use to push content out.
And I again, why do I care? Because this goes back to my Google rank. I want to be on the first page. Social media and blogging are 2 of the recognized forms that Google uses to measure relevant content. But I'd be recluse if I didn't jump in here, Wes. We talked about this as well. What would be the fears of blogging? Again, when I think of it, when I first heard of blogging, I thought, it's an online journal for some university student. What would be the fears from blogging from an organizational perspective, Wes?
Yeah, I think some of them are, do we actually have the ability to write something that people will read? And, I do a lot of blogging content at Print Audit, and we also have guest contributors that do blogs, as well as, employees within the organization that contribute blogs. But we've also got a really good team that does editing to make things that much more polished and make sure that the message we're trying to get across is actually in tune with our strategy as a company as a whole. So that's really important. I think that's one of the big fears is, can we write something, that people are actually, going to read? The second thing is fear that people have when it comes to blogging, and this is a fear that they should have, is, am I publishing relevant content? In other words, there's a trick in the blogging world, which is trying to make sure that your content is educational, that when people read it, they walk away with things that they can use while still promoting things that your company can do as well. And that 1-2 punch, if you will, definitely takes some practice, to get good at. The good news is that those fears are usually not as bad as people think once they start writing blogs. It's a quick learning process, and the responses you get back from, the industry as you start to have your blogs out there are quite surprising in a good way. The real thing too is, how much do we write? And I would always recommend to people that you should be looking at doing one long form, as I call it, quote unquote, blog, which is a longer piece, more educational in nature, at least every week. And then you can spatter, more short form blogs if they're, introducing a webinar or a new ebook that you have coming out or something, another couple times, a month, or, 3 or 4 times a month. And the trick is consistency and making sure that you're providing content on a regular basis.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it is so important, and it's probably the one that most of our dealers have questions and concerns about, Aaron. And I know you got a few good points about, again, if I was to look at frequency, or the relevant content is important, but is there too much or too little?
Well, right. So Wes mentioned customized content and relevant content. So part of our Partner Pro offering is providing these services to our customers, because it is a big animal to do. And so the best practices that we see is about 4 blogs a month, and around 20 social channel postings on a monthly basis. And so I equate it to the diet, right? So the more you go to the gym, the better you eat, the better off you are. So the more you blog and the more social channels you have in providing what Wes said, relevant content, the more effective that it is. So big buyer of blogs. I'm sure we could have a whole webinar just on that topic. But when we think relevant content, and Wes, you brought it up, that leads me to vertical markets. And I know a lot of the folks on the call have vertical market specialists on their team, and we see some of the best businesses getting specific down to a vertical market they're targeting. One of the most important aspects of lead generation is credibility. People want to deal with people who have industry experience and competency. So providing an industry-specific message will demonstrate your company's competency specific to verticals, and then that in turn will turn lead generation.
Yeah, so if you think back to those 8 things that were there in Google ranking and then social media and blogging, what I would see vertical markets is, it's an opportunity when we look at our industry specifics, so working with Indu Communications and then highlighting these benchmark fields for us and for our partners. Vertical markets was one of the opportunities regarding your social media and regarding your blogging that your business could be talking about, right? So you're trying to create that credibility about your business. You're trying to create that and demonstrate that competency for your business, which again creates demand and drives them back to your website. So it's an opportunity that some of your companies or some of your competitors may not be talking about, which would allow you to differentiate yourself and stand in the forefront.
Well, and just like the statistic says on the screen, what we're seeing is 95% of websites have no vertical market content, which from a sales perspective speaks to a huge opportunity for your business out in the marketplace. And one of the things that we see as a great driver of delivering content is video. YouTube is the second most popular search engine behind Google. We have, what was the statistic I saw the other day, Matt? I think it's like 490 million users per month on YouTube. So we're a big proponent of video. And actually, I was talking to Matt the other day, and he brought it up on this website that you used to go to, you guys would see, called eHow. So, you got a dinner party and you're trying to figure out how to cook that beef stroganoff, you don't know how, so you go to eHow and it kind of gives you the recipe. Well, now you can just go to YouTube and watch a video, and the video will just show you exactly how to do it. So we're finding that that video is a great deliverer of content. Another way that you can use it is a blog as well to get your message out to your audience.
Yeah, working with Intu Communications and again how that customer in his buying process wants to get access to this relevant content. One of the vehicles that are trending more and more and more that they're looking to, again, time constraint, ingest this information is through video, right? And again, the video is just another means for them to take in this relevant content of your information that you're putting out there. So your video content or your YouTube page could be similar to your blog content topics, could be similar to your value proposition and your services. It's just a different way for them to take in this information that seems to be on the trending upwards of how they want to engage your business.
Right. I guess at the end of the day, why read about it when you can watch a quick video on it, whether that's printers or solutions or programs, managed IT, MPS. I mean, way easier way to consume content. The other side of it is when we think about content, what about sustainability? And I think it's important to mention sustainability in your lead drivers, because as the MPS space gets more and more competitive, and managed IT is coming in, and we're selling to vertical markets like healthcare and legal and education, sustainability becomes a key sort of tipping point within RFPs and competitive situations. And so different verticals and different companies are looking for a green sort of initiative for your business. And that's something that I think is important to have on your website.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Wes. I would jump at this being just like the vertical markets. This is where we see an opportunity to bring up a topic about something that potentially your competitors aren't talking about right now. It opens another channel for you to use those vehicles of social media, blogging, and video to represent your company in a way that can separate yourself from the competition.
Yeah, I was just going to add from practical experience that the 2 most read posts that we produced at Print Audit have had to do with sustainability. So when we look at the metrics for measuring people's engagement, sustainability is a huge one. People really, are trying to get more information on it and how they can do things, to better improve their footprint. So looking at our metrics from different pieces, it's definitely something that, people should, take more seriously and make sure they have good content for.
Yeah, and that's an interesting stat. I didn't know that, and I guess it's more important depending on what part of the country you live in. But as the world turns and as we get older, and it's important to consider how we're going to keep the planet green. And my experience says everyone wants sustainability, but no one wants to pay for it. So look for partnerships in the industry that can help provide that information and those services for you, because I think that's an important piece for your business. And I guess if we look at content offers, we've talked about how to drive traffic to your website and how to get more people there, and social media and blogging and video. This is where the magic happens, right? This is where we now have an opportunity to take all those visitors and turn them into warm leads, and really what we're talking about today from a lead generation standpoint. Here's where we have the ability to capture our customers' contact information based on the content that we're putting out.
Absolutely. This is, for me, in my experience, you know, diving into this deeper and deeper and deeper and getting, like I said, that proximity to all of the best companies in the best industries that are using their website to connect with their customers, to understand that buying process. This is where the hammer hits the nail, right? All of the Google ranking and the relevant content and my work with social media and my work with my blog and understanding the topics and how and the information that my customer wants to connect with out there if he's searching online is I'm bringing them back to my website. And once I get them to my website, if I don't have some way to, I hate to use the word trap, but we're in sales, we want them to submit their information. We want them to not just think about us and read about us and use us for our expertise and our content and our compelling reasons. We want them to engage with us. And this content offer or call to action, essentially about them and their engagement to take it to the next level, is one of the most important parts. All of your hard work with your positioning your business and your online brand with your website would be lost if you didn't have a way for them to actually connect and engage with you outside of your Please Contact Us webpage.
Well, right, and I think it's important to note a couple things here. So what is a content offer? It's an ebook, it's a white paper, it's a video, something that they're going to find interest in, and that really comes from questions that they're asking that you're addressing. It's important to have more than one content offer on your website. You know, have at least 3 different content offers that speak to your audience as they visit your website. Because we call them CTAs or call to action, but CTAs have a very high perceived value to the client, and the content usually centers around helping the client solve a problem. Think about the title. The title needs to be catchy, and make sure that from a content offer you can only access it from your website. So as you send out, you know, outbound marketing pieces and you drive traffic back to your website through inbound marketing, these are the things that need to be accessed through your website, and just some best practices around content offers. But I found that stat at the bottom of the page, Matt. You know, 90% of websites don't display a clear call to action button for contact offers, and I think that you're right. As you drive traffic to the site, there's got to be a way to convert and then generate sales.
Yeah, it reminds me of we've all seen or been part of or worked with that sales rep that was absolutely phenomenal at all aspects of his job but couldn't close. That's the thing. We're looking for that call to action button, right? I need you to be good at the last step is the most important, right? The closing or engagement step is the most important piece, to my experience. And then as a bonus.
Yeah, and I think if we look at number 8, the number 1 lead driver for your business, mobile friendly. So you know, the story I have on this is, and I don't think I'm very different than most people, is, you know, when the iPad first came out, or the tablet or whatever, I got my iPad, you know, have it next to my bed or read the newspaper. You know, I used the tablet for everything. But then Apple came out with the iPhone 6s XL Plus. I don't know, it's like the biggest Apple iPhone you can get today. And I got that. And now I don't really use my iPad anymore. You know, my phone has everything that I need on it. And that means that as I'm searching websites and I'm looking at customers and partners and opportunities, are the websites mobile friendly? Because I'm looking at it now through my phone. And we mentioned millennials earlier in the presentation, and millennials are looking at this content through their phone now. So something to consider for your business: is your business website mobile friendly? 60% of online traffic now comes from the mobile device.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at this when you think mobile friendly versus website is most websites were created to be viewed through a desktop. So how they were formatted, the picture, the images, the overlap to make sure that the fonts are all the same. You know, we've all delivered a presentation or saw someone deliver a presentation where potentially, let's say they created the presentation on a MacBook and then delivered it on a PC or vice versa, and all of the images overlapped and the fonts weren't right and it didn't fit the format for the page. That's essentially viewing your website through your mobile device. So a small tip that we're seeing is if your website isn't mobile accessible for these customers that are on the go and just viewing, and as interest hits them, they go to your website. If it's not ready for them to read on their smartphone, they're just going to come back out of that, go to the next guy down on the Google rank, and they're going to go look at his content. So make sure your website is mobile friendly.
So let's bring it back. Sorry, jump slides there. Let's bring it back. I think, you know, these are the top 8 benchmark systems the best companies are considering for their business. You see, you know, hopefully you're able to go along and do a sort of a self-assessment of your business and rate your business on a scale of 1 to 5. you see a lot of terms up there in regards to content. We talked about content. I want to make a point, though, that content is not a strategy, but content is a tactic in your lead generation strategy. So think about, how that gets delivered. I can tell you from a Partner Pro perspective, we have a solution that we provide our customers that helps optimize their website. We create and manage the content for them, whether it's blogging or social channels, to increase the traffic back to their website, and then we create the ebooks, the white papers, the call to actions to convert that traffic into leads, and we continually do that for our customers. And our number one goal is to help our customers grow and to help our customers bring in more sales leads so that they buy more product from Digitech. Here's an example of a site that we threw together just to kind of illustrate all how the different lead generation drivers can be showcased on your website, from video to blogging to vertical markets. And I think when we look at the marketing spend and the transition from 2010 to 2015, I thought this slide was interesting. You can see up in the top we referenced the sort of shift and control slide that we spoke about in regards to my car, but this is how people prefer to buy. This is the transition and spend that demonstrates how businesses are speaking to their customers today, and this is how customers today prefer to buy. So let's think back to Buyer 2.0. More and more funding is now being dedicated to digital marketing, and if we can help our customers understand and execute that aspect of the business, we feel like there's some great value there, and that's the positive feedback we've had from our customers today.
Yeah, just to jump in here real quick, Aaron.
Yeah.
Again, when I mentioned that, again, having your website be that lead generation tool for your business, having that website be that brand ambassador that's available 24/7 for your business. He's really your online CEO, your online VP of sales. When you look at your marketing spend and what your businesses are doing today, whether it's trade shows or billboards or promotional activities or technology events for your clients, shifting that spend towards your digital online profile is what we're seeing working with partners like Into Communication, the top companies are doing today, because it fits that customers, it fits your client's buying process. There's more value in your website and your online presence than there ever was before. And so as you look at your organizations with your executive committees, to shift that spend towards how you present online as well as in person is becoming more and more important.
So it's time to generate more leads. So how do we get started? And so we work pretty simply with our clients today. We start with a website assessment. So we'll go through the 8 benchmarks that we discussed on the call today. We'll identify, what's working and why you should care and where the opportunities are. We'll strategize, have a lead generation discussion with your business. We'll create an action plan, content specific to your business, and then we'll deploy the lead generation activities for you. But I think most importantly, we'll measure the ROI for your activities to make sure that you guys are getting the return on investment that you deserve for your investments. So this is how we work with folks today. Really appreciate the opportunity to share a story with you guys today. At the very least, you can remember that Matt's dad is not a millennial. I'm not 25. And I recently bought a car for my family. But thanks a lot, Wes, for giving us an opportunity to tell our story.
No, absolutely. What a fantastic webinar. I always appreciate being part of a webinar where you get a lot of takeaways, and certainly today's webinar has delivered on that. Before I get into conclusions, I'd like to take
unmuted
and answer some of the attendee questions. So I'd like to introduce Angela Einstein from our marketing group, who's now going to open up the question period of the webinar.
Thank you, Wes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We do have a few questions, so I'll just jump right in. First question is, how long does it take to get things going on my new site?
Okay, so that's a good question. So we say it takes approximately 6 months to get things up and going on your website. You can kind of look at it like moving into a new neighborhood. So if you move into a new neighborhood and you never go outside, your neighbors don't get to know who you are, and it takes a little bit longer for you to get to know the folks that are around you. So we say 6 months because if you move into a new neighborhood and you're active and you're always out there, then you're going to see a lot more return on your investment.
Great, thank you, Aaron. What is the ROI?
So an ROI, it really depends. We say that you need to look at around 6 months, but it really comes down to activity. You know, I gave the example earlier of diet. You need to be committed to this process. And so the benchmark that I gave out earlier is if you're looking at blogging 4 times a month and you're looking at 20 or so social channel postings with multiple call to actions on your website, then you're looking at about a 6-month return as far as seeing activity on your, seeing a return on your activities.
Great. Next question is, I have a website. Do I need a new one?
Okay, so it depends, right? So we talked to the fact that all these social links and everything link back to your website. So it depends on your Google search engines, your current SEO performance and assessments. So what we do is we offer multiple packages to our customers for that, and that's why we usually always just start with an assessment to kind of see where our customers are at, and then we build it out from there.
Okay, great, thank you. Why wouldn't I hire a student or a young person to do this?
Well, I mean, you think back to our conversation around millennials. So in most cases, students understand the social channels, but they don't understand our industry. And so it's difficult for them to come up with compelling, relevant content that speaks to, legal manufacturing education. So that's why a lot of companies are outsourcing this product or service or relying on a professional firm to develop that content specifically for their business.
Great, thank you, Aaron. And our last question is how much does your services cost?
Yeah, absolutely. So our services cost between $1,000 a month and $3,000 a month. It just depends on the activity. So it depends on the diet plan that you want to go on, right? So we would just sit down with our customers and talk to them about, are you looking for, X number of blogs, social channel postings? Are we creating content? How does it work? And we have some planned out packages that we can speak with the folks that are interested offline.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we have for now. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out to us or Digitech.
Well, that's wonderful. So thank you very much, Angie, for handling the question period. And thank you very much to both Aaron and Matt for hosting the webinar. I've been taking some notes vigorously myself, and some of my key takeaways were, one, that the way web pages are being ranked now, it's playing by new rules. In the old days, it used to be, using keywords and meta tags, and now content is really driving, people towards our website, so that's important to look at. The other thing is the importance of your sustainability messaging and, making sure that is up to date and, ready there for your customers to see right away on your website. And the content offers to make sure that there are, some downloadable content with some extensive expertise, which are available, when people give you a little bit of information. And the one thing I liked about the slide that you presented, Aaron, was that it didn't ask for a lot of information. You made it very simple because you can use other tools, and we do as well, to discover more about the people that are, downloading the content. And the last thing is obviously choosing a partner who can take care of all the heavy lifting. I can tell you from experience, running the social media arm at Print Audit, that it takes a lot of work. It's very difficult to produce relevant content, and having a partner with expertise in that area that can take care of those things for you, be it blog posts or videos or everything else, is a huge benefit and can let you, really focus on doing what you do best, which is selling managed print. The other last thing I want to leave off with is the top 100 is literally, I think, 9 sleeps away. So September 25th through 27th, we, Digitech, and a select number of dealer principals will be getting together in Park City, Utah. You can learn more about it by getting in touch with Digitech. If you're not on the list and think that you should be, I encourage you to reach out to them. I think that we do have a few spots and able to get some dealer principals out to the show. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. This will be posted on YouTube, and we look forward to seeing some of you in Park City.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Wes. Appreciate it.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks, Wes. Thanks, Aaron.